I recently came to the realization that I'm a bit of a smooth brain. To combat this, I decided to challenge my mind and stumbled across the game Limbo. Limbo is a puzzle platformer video game developed by Deadplay and published by Microsoft. We play as a child who finds himself in the unfortunate circumstance of being born in Australia. We wake up in the outback and have no clue on what exactly is happening. Our only objective is self-imposed: keep moving forward. Limbo has very simple controls: up, down, left, right, and interact. This simple control scheme is meant to lure you into a false sense of security. During my gameplay, I was plagued by several Australopithecus moments. Despite being a puzzle platformer, the game has quite a depressing atmosphere. This is subtly hinted at by 3 Sony Vegas filters and 7 layers of vignette. Enough rambling. Our first major obstacle is a small fall. Light work for a small child, but a death sentence for the elderly. Fall. A little further ahead, we encounter our first interactable object. You can tell it's interactable because it has a handle on it. This tip is very useful for the first half of the game, until you reach the second half where you just have to eyeball everything. We move the cart so we're able to mantle up to a platform, grab a rope, and then descend down. We then find a boat and hop in it. Realistically, considering this is a child, this is a very small boat. We use this boat to make our way across the river. We drag said boat more inland so we're able to make it to the next objective. I then fell victim to the oldest trick in the book, the ye old bear trap on the ground. They had so many of these on Epstein's Island, so I've heard. What I was actually supposed to do, instead of just walking across them, was move them apart so I could take a running jump over them individually. Additionally, you're not the only thing that can get trapped in these. The next puzzle requires us to get a carcass trapped on a rope, stuck in a bear trap, so we can lose some weight and finally be able to progress. This puzzle truly challenged my ability to open up a YouTube guide. Just as I thought things were getting sweet, a giant boulder rolled down a log and nearly crushed me. This is actually quite a common punishment in Australia for the crime of attempting to own a house. I then stumbled across a puddle and then came to the unfortunate realization that this boy can't swim. I wonder why. He drowns in a matter of seconds, the cells in his body burning through all the oxygen within his blood in a matter of microseconds. What kind of metabolism does this boy have? I'm surprised he's not a ball of fire. Instead of giving myself an impromptu baptism, what I was supposed to do is drag the box towards the trees, mantle up, push down a massive piece of wood into the puddle, and make my way across. Of course, why did I not think of that? Things then got a little bit too quiet. I walked past a bear trap in a tree. Why exactly was it in a tree and what was he trying to catch? I don't know. I decided to keep going and then found the smallest spider in Sydney. I baited his little stomps, which were actually his attempts at killing me, to make the bear trap fall down. And then baited his stomps again so he could lose some limbs to the bear trap. He falls for this like 3 or 4 times in a row. Cue an explanation on the definition of insanity.
But the definition of insanity is...
This little guy is quite crafty. He can get his way out of multiple situations, except this forest for some reason. After losing multiple limbs, he finally lets us pass, only for us to get stuck in a bunch of webs. The spider then shows up again to show us he's no ordinary Australian. He's actually an Italian immigrant. Sadly, his Italian genes possess him not to finish what he started. Typical. I hate those pasta merchants. This gives us an opportunity to escape by hopping away, and then we encountered the hardest boss in the game, which is my complete and utter lack of hand-eye coordination. I failed the same jump 3 times. After finally completing that basic jump, I went on to fail the next one. I then pushed a boulder forward, causing a tree to fall, creating a makeshift bridge. I then hopped on another boulder, attempting to log roll myself to safety, only to be harassed by yours truly. I then managed to escape, and then fell for the oldest trick in the book, the helpless child stick. I hope you learned to never help a child in need. I hopped from log to log, almost getting killed in the process, and then spotted another kid who threw a flaming tire at me. I foolishly thought I could parkour over it. They have some sort of vendetta against me. I don't know what I did, but they're about to learn that I'm not above child abuse. Ah yes, seeking bear traps. The spider then shows up again, like I have his last bottle of beer or something. It then fails basic parkour, and then I drop a boulder on it. Completely unaware of the concept of self-preservation, he continues to pursue me, so I rip off his last leg and then use his body as an undesirable but necessary platform. See, me personally, I wouldn't let that slide. I then make it to the point where I need to use other dead bodies as platforms. This is where some weird brain leeches are introduced. They possess the average man to be unable to resist the urge to harass women in Valorant lobbies. A tripwire. If only I had something to place down there. We're then introduced to these things. What are they called? I really don't know, but they eat those brain parasites. Without a massive did you know screen or long-winded tutorial, we are shown a threat and how to counter it. Playdead Studios, you gain my applause. I hope you enjoyed that little segment because that's really the only analysis I have. We then make our way into the Live Leak factory, and I'm trying my gosh darn hardest not to make the logo spawn. Just as we think we're safe, we're shot by some random kids. Children and deadly machinery. This must be an iPhone factory. If only there was some painless way of subduing them. I guess we'll never know. We then make our way way to the next puzzle. This is one of the first puzzles where you need to combine precise movements with time management. We pull on the first rope, go down, pull on the first rope again, pull on the second rope, and then hopefully make it past the barriers before we get smushed. In all honesty, this was a very simple puzzle, but I was sleep deprived. Yeah, that's the excuse I'm going with. We're home free, at last. At least that's what I thought, until I got my body hijacked. These creatures force you to travel in a certain direction. The only way to make them change direction is when they're hit by a beam of sunlight. We use this change in direction to get closer to those roof munchers from earlier, so we can finally be free. We then find a random unpowered gear mechanism. We simply have to chase a hamster into the wheel, and somehow that powers the entire factory. This also causes it to rain somehow. This is the start of the water segments. All you need to know is that some objects float in water and you can stand on said objects. All of this is conveyed to you in the next puzzle, where you need to position a log, connect a pipe using your body weight, and fill the chasm with water, making the log float up, allowing you to progress. That was a very simple puzzle. Congratulations, you've graduated Limbo Preschool. Up next is Limbo College. Use the same tactics from the previous puzzle, but you're poked along constantly by rising water levels. All you have to do is make sure you have something to float you up to the next level. That wasn't fun, was it? How do you think they feel? Just as you think you're safe, you're attacked by another one of these things. What can I say? Get to the light, change direction, travel down the desired path, and try not to drown. Somehow, all of this transitions us to the rooftops. This is where electricity is introduced. Basically, any white, glowing, and sparking object bestows upon you the minor affliction of death. If you manage to make it past all that, you are then met with a giant glass dome that you have to crash through. This causes you to descend back into the depths just for your body to get yanked again. This time, the death spiced things up by adding saws. In your inebriated state, you have to lower a box so you're able to clear the box in one jump. Failure to do so will result in a big boo-boo. I did all this and then felt quite accomplished with myself. All this confidence was then destroyed by a 2-minute long Australopithecus moment, because for some reason the neurons in my head were unable to fathom the prospect that these were interactable. If you don't have the brain power of an amoeba, you'll be able to bring the box up with you, only to face another saw trial. This time you need to time dropping 2 boxes so you can place one on top of the other and make it past the saw. Doing all this gets us out of the industrial zone, where we encounter a massive fly. You complete this puzzle by slowly inching towards the fly, jumping on him, and then reaching the ladder. In another Australopithecus moment, I thought I could just rush him. At this point, just give me a spear and send me back to 20,000 BC. I'll be right at home. After doing all that, we somehow managed to find ourselves back in the industrial zone and encounter a puzzle that requires us to keep constant pressure on a button. This is one of the puzzles where the solution isn't directly on the screen. These puzzles require a little bit of object permanence, because you need to go ahead and then backtrack with the solution. In this case, we need to get a tire, bring it down using movable platforms, and then time it rolling so we're able to push a box through a door. This allows us to reach a lever that starts up the factory and causes massive gears to spin. No, it's okay, Confucius. It's only a game. Work time is only in 3 hours. This puzzle requires you to bring 2 boxes with you, one to hold down a button and the other one to mantle up. The next puzzle is a moving chain. We're supposed to move the chain back and forth to build up momentum. So when we finally make the chain go away, the slack allows us to jump and hang on to it. I then found this fancy gear, pushed it forward, causing the entire world to spin. What even is this place? Don't let your guard down. I did, and got whacked by a door. As the world spins, you need to keep moving. Use the gears to give yourself solid footing. Up ahead, we're introduced to magnets that keep certain objects in place. This is a beginner-friendly puzzle. We push a box up and then use the magnet to stop it at the desired position. Criticism time. Puzzles kinda don't feel like they increase in difficulty. Their placement is kind of random. Some puzzles have you posing like a Roman statue, and others can be completed with crayons. By pushing this lever, it causes the world to spin again. You grab a box, jump onto a chain to avoid the saws, and then drop down back on the same box to avoid the electrified floor. You find another lever which causes the world to spin again, but this time with an extra layer of difficulty. There's a comically large boulder placed just above you, so if you even considered taking your time with this puzzle, you're met with immediate death, so you need to move fast. And I think we just made it to the end. Psych! We get body jacked once again and are brought back to the industrial zone. The gimmick here is that we need to precisely mantle up and traverse the area with our body being hijacked. This area has various obstacles like hydraulic presses and hydraulic presses. The upcoming zone has a lot of switches and electricity. This is where the puzzles ramp up in difficulty. Not because it's things we've never seen before, but because I'm a fucking idiot. Specifically, this one cart puzzle that required me to use all 15 of my brain cells to realize that if I stand on top of the cart and I run forward against a wall, this pushes the cart backwards, giving me enough time to clear the electric floor. No, don't give me applause for figuring it out. I didn't. I had to look up a guide. It took me 10 minutes of trying. They discovered fire in less time. The next puzzle has you navigate a poorly lit area, and just when you think you survived the worst, up ahead, for some reason, there's just machine guns. What is this, Somalia? What you're supposed to do is that you have to trigger the gun above you to chase you so you can shoot the gun below you so you can safely pass. The next level introduces anti-gravity. Essentially, you can bring boxes with you up terrain. I actually really enjoyed these segments until I didn't. Not because it's poorly thought out, but because of this one specific puzzle. Remember when I said some puzzles in this game don't have their solution directly on the screen and you have to either move forward or backwards to find the solution? Yeah, for some reason I completely forgot that and tried to brute force the puzzle for some reason. If you gave 15 monkeys controllers, they'd figure it out in less time. I was supposed to backtrack even further to get a second box and bring it over here. I see you rolling your eyes. Listen, it's way more difficult in person. The next puzzle is much simpler. You simply lift 2 boxes up with anti-gravity and use a magnet to hold them both up. You then turn off anti-gravity, then for a brief moment turn off magnetism, and just before the second box falls, you turn back on the magnetism to keep one of the boxes up. The next puzzle requires precise swinging. A common joke in this video is that Australopithecus was dumb, but he was probably capable of precise swinging, something I could not do in this specific challenge. Even if you make it past the rope, the battle doesn't get any easier. You need to precisely time activations of anti-gravity to get yourself past multiple obstacles. Electricity, saws, machine guns, the game is throwing everything it has at you. It even implements anti-gravity on timers. Failed again and again and again. I failed so many times I failed to keep track of it. But then there was this moment of pure luck where I managed to shoot myself through the glass and then time slowed down. For the next couple meters, there were no puzzles, no tricks. There was just someone off in the distance, barely illuminated. We get closer to them and then the game cuts to black. Well, that didn't explain anything. Well, boys, it's time to put on your thinking caps. What exactly is the meaning of this game? What did any of this mean? Well, there's multiple ways to look at it. There's the literal sense where we just take everything at face value, or some people would call it the right way. We begin the game as the boy, who is obviously looking for someone or something. The person at the end, considering her size relative to the boy, is probably a child as well. And after the credit scene, we see 2 rotting bodies. What all of this probably means is that they both died and found themselves in limbo. Very subtle. Unable to find his sister, the boy we play as goes out in search for her. And when he finds her, they can finally both rest. Well, that brings up the question on how did they die? Well, there's some hints. There's a ladder to a treehouse that's broken. They might have fell simultaneously from the ladder and died, which is an interesting way going out. But that interpretation is lame and probably canon. And there's no fun in that. Time to go off the walls. At the beginning of the game, we're faced with various enemies like spiders and other children, things we all feared at certain points as children. Even more irrational ones like bear traps. Wait, no, I know that sounds a bit crazy, but as a child I thought quicksand would be a way bigger obstacle in my life, and I guess bear traps were his. As we progress further and further into the game, the obstacles become more mature. Dangerous work environments with heavy industrial equipment and high voltages, leeches possibly representing other people entering your life and trying to control where you go. The game shows the transition between a child's fears and an adult's, and coming to terms with the fact that no matter what, you need to get up and face the same things again and again and again because your only choice is moving forward. Nah, I'm reaching. Anyway, that was Limbo. I really hope you enjoyed the video. This is the part of the video where I ask you to like and subscribe, but it makes me feel like the ant holding the bag image. Anyway, au revoir.